What is happiness? And how can we live a genuinely happy life? These are questions that none of us can avoid. Hello, everyone. I'm Manya. Welcome to Life Wisdom. Today, I'd like to talk to you about Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics. Written more than 2,300 years ago, this ancient work still reads like a guide to living well for modern readers. Aristotle lived from 384 to 322 BCE. He was a student of Plato and later became the teacher of Alexander the Great. His work ranged across logic, politics, ethics, biology, rhetoric, and poetics. Yet, across this vast range of subjects, he remained deeply concerned with a more fundamental set of questions. How should we make choices? How should we act? How can we become better people? And how can we live a truly fulfilling life? The Nicomachean Ethics is widely regarded as one of Aristotle's most important works on ethics. At its heart lies a central question: how can we achieve genuine happiness by cultivating virtue and developing our character? At the beginning of the book, Aristotle writes, "Every art and every inquiry, and similarly every action and choice, is thought to aim at some good." For example, you learn a skill so that you can perform better at work. You work hard in pursuit of income, growth, and achievement. You earn money so that you can live with greater freedom. If everything we do is ultimately directed toward some higher purpose, what is the final purpose behind it all? Aristotle's answer is happiness. But by happiness, Aristotle does not simply mean a pleasant feeling or a temporary emotional high. He is talking about eudaimonia, often translated as human flourishing, a state in which we live well, fulfill our potential, and become the best human beings we can be. Aristotle says that happiness is an activity of the soul in accordance with virtue. Put more simply, happiness is not primarily about what you possess, but about how you live. It is not only about how you feel, but about whether you are fully realizing your potential as a human being. Today, many people base their happiness on external things. If I have someone who deeply loves me, I'll be happy. If I have enough money, I'll be happy. If other people recognize my worth, I'll be happy. There is nothing inherently wrong with pursuing love, wealth, or recognition. The problem is that these things are unstable. Wealth can be lost. Recognition depends on other people. Luck is largely beyond our control. What truly belongs to you is your character and the kind of person you choose to become, one decision at a time. As Aristotle famously says, one swallow does not make a summer, nor does one day. In the same way, a single good day, or even a brief period of living well, is not enough to make a person truly happy. Happiness is not achieved through one right choice. It is built over time through a consistent way of living. Aristotle believes that the key to happiness lies in virtue. Virtue is a stable quality of character, such as courage, honesty, generosity, or temperance. He argues that virtue is not something we are simply born with. We develop it through action and habit. We become self disciplined by repeatedly practicing self discipline. We become honest by consistently telling the truth and keeping our promises. Cultivating virtue, then, is not only about what we understand intellectually, it is about what we repeatedly practice in our daily lives. In the Nicomachean Ethics, Aristotle explores several central ideas about virtue, character, and human flourishing. Let's look at 8 of these ideas and consider what they can teach us about modern life. The first key idea is the doctrine of the mean, often called the golden mean. The golden mean does not mean simply choosing the middle option, nor does it mean refusing to take a position. It means finding the most appropriate response to a particular situation, one that avoids both excess and deficiency. Take courage as an example. Courage is a mean between recklessness and cowardice. Recklessness means rushing into danger when there is no good reason to do so. Cowardice means shrinking back when the situation calls for us to stand firm. Courage means taking the right action at the right time for the right reason. Generosity is another example. It is a mean between extravagance and stinginess. Extravagance means giving carelessly, without considering the recipient, your own means, or whether your gift serves any meaningful purpose. Stinginess means refusing to give even when giving would be appropriate. Generosity means giving the right amount at the right time to the right people or causes. Gentleness is also a mean, but gentleness does not mean never becoming angry. For Aristotle, the question is not simply whether you feel anger. The question is whether you are angry about the right things, with the right person, at the right time, and in the right way. The golden mean, then, is not a fixed point. It is the ongoing practice of finding the most appropriate response within the complexity of real life. The second key idea is practical wisdom. Aristotle tells us that intelligence is not the same as wisdom. An intelligent person may be highly skilled at achieving a goal, but the goal itself may be misguided. For example, someone may be very good at making money or building an impressive public image. That may require intelligence, but it does not necessarily demonstrate wisdom. Practical wisdom is not merely about knowing how to get things done. It means knowing what is worth doing, why it should be done, when to do it, and how far to take it. Consider artificial intelligence. AI is becoming increasingly powerful and efficient. But the deeper question is, what ends are we using these capabilities to serve? Are we using them to improve human life or to create more sophisticated forms of distraction, manipulation, and addiction? What we lack today is not information. We have more information than ever before. What we often lack is wise judgment, the ability to recognize what is truly worth pursuing. The third key idea is temperance. Socrates once argued that no one knowingly does what is wrong. People act wrongly because they lack knowledge. Aristotle did not fully agree. He recognized that people often know what is right and still fail to do it. You may know that you need to focus, but still find yourself checking your phone. You may know that you should not lose your temper, but when your emotions flare up, you struggle to control your reaction. According to how well a person's desires are governed by reason, Aristotle distinguishes among 4 types of people. 1. The temperate person. Their desires are already in harmony with reason. They not only do the right thing, but also genuinely want what is good. 2. The self controlled person. They still experience strong or conflicting desires, but they are able to resist them and choose what they know is right. 3. The weak willed person. They know what they should do, but fail to act accordingly and regret it afterward. 4. The self indulgent person. They act wrongly, believe that their behavior is justified, and feel little or no regret. The weak willed person at least experiences regret. This shows that they still possess an inner standard of right and wrong. The more dangerous condition is self indulgence. A self indulgent person may rationalize hurting others as just being honest, or describe compulsive behavior as freedom and being myself. Developing temperance requires more than sheer willpower. We also need practical methods of training ourselves. If you struggle to focus, set clear rules in advance. Put your phone on airplane mode and leave it in a drawer while you work. If you are easily angered, learn to recognize your emotional triggers. Practice pausing before reacting and develop healthier habits through mindfulness, journaling, exercise, or other emotional regulation techniques. The goal is to replace old, unconscious reactions with new and intentional responses. True temperance does not mean having no desires. It means knowing what is truly worth pursuing and being willing to train your desires so that they support rather than undermine the life you want to live. The fourth theme is the role of pleasure in a good life. Aristotle believes that pleasure is closely connected to human nature. When we enjoy an activity, we tend to engage in it more fully, and that often helps us perform it better. But not all pleasures are equal. Aristotle suggests that the quality of a pleasure depends partly on the activity it accompanies. In Aristotelian terms, we might think of the instant gratification of scrolling through short videos, compulsive shopping, overeating, or chasing likes online as lower forms of pleasure. These activities may feel satisfying in the moment, but they can leave us more distracted, dependent, and empty. By contrast, the satisfaction that comes from deep work, regular exercise, sustained creative effort, learning, and genuine relationships can be understood as a higher form of pleasure. These experiences can make us more clear minded, capable, and free. Temperance is not opposed to pleasure. Instead, it helps protect our capacity for deeper and more fulfilling forms of pleasure. So, when Aristotle connects pleasure with human character, there is an important lesson for us. What we learn to enjoy helps shape the people we become. A mature person does not simply pursue whatever feels good in the moment. They learn to cultivate a taste for pleasures that enrich their life and strengthen their character. The fifth theme is justice. The ideas we have discussed so far are largely concerned with individual character. Justice, however, necessarily concerns our relationships with other people. A person may appear disciplined and successful in private, but if they are unfair, dishonest, untrustworthy, or disrespectful of other people's boundaries, they cannot be considered fully virtuous. Aristotle distinguishes between distributive and corrective justice. And he also discusses the role of reciprocity in social exchange. When Aristotle talks about distributive justice, he is not saying that fairness means giving everyone exactly the same thing. His idea is more nuanced. Fairness means distributing benefits and responsibilities according to relevant factors, such as contribution, merit, and responsibility. We can see this clearly in a company. Rewards should reflect real contributions. Authority should be matched by responsibility, and opportunities should be allocated as transparently as possible. In this sense, justice is not about mechanical equality. It is about proportion. But justice is not only about how things are distributed. It also matters when something has gone wrong, when someone has caused harm, or when one person has gained an unfair advantage over another. This is where corrective justice becomes important. Corrective justice aims to restore balance. That restoration may come through compensation, punishment, restitution, or some other form of correction. The point is not simply to punish for the sake of punishment, but to repair an imbalance that should not exist. This idea applies in many areas of life. In law, it may involve a penalty or repayment. In the workplace, it may involve resolving a conflict or correcting an unfair decision. In a close relationship, it may take the form of an honest apology. In each case, the deeper purpose is the same: to repair a balance that has been disrupted. Aristotle also connects justice with reciprocity in social exchange. Human cooperation depends on a fair and proportionate exchange of value. If one person contributes something valuable, there should be an appropriate return. This does not mean every relationship should become a cold calculation, but it does mean that we should not simply take other people's help for granted. When someone supports us, helps us, or gives us something meaningful, we should remember that kindness and respond appropriately. At the heart of justice, then, is not mechanical equality, but fairness. Fairness asks us to look not only at what is equal, but at what is fitting, proportionate, and deserved. And because real life is complicated, Aristotle also emphasizes equity. General rules are necessary, but they cannot account for every particular situation. Sometimes applying a rule too rigidly can actually produce an unfair result. Equity is the ability to apply or adjust a rule in a way that preserves its deeper purpose. It does not reject justice. It completes justice by bringing judgment, context, and humanity into situations where a general rule is not enough. So, true justice requires both principles and judgment. It needs rules, but it also needs wisdom. The sixth theme is friendship. Aristotle writes, "No one would choose to live without friends, even if he had all the other goods. You may have wealth, status, and a successful career. But if no one truly understands you, stands by you, or shares your life, your happiness will always feel incomplete." Aristotle identifies three kinds of friendship. The first is friendship of utility. In this kind of friendship, two people maintain a relationship because each of them benefits from it. They may exchange resources, information, opportunities, or practical support. The second is friendship of pleasure. Here, Two people enjoy each other's company and take pleasure in spending time together. The relationship may be fun, comfortable, or exciting. The third is friendship of virtue. In this kind of friendship, I value you for who you are. I wish you well, not merely because you are useful to me or because you make me feel good, but for your own sake. The first two forms of friendship are part of life. We need cooperation and we also need companionship and joy. But these relationships are often unstable. When the practical benefit disappears or the relationship is no longer enjoyable, the friendship may come to an end. The highest form of friendship is based on virtue. It may include usefulness and pleasure, but it goes beyond both. In this kind of friendship, the other person is not a tool. As Aristotle puts it, a friend is another self. A true friend is not merely someone who eats, chats, and has fun with you. A true friend is someone with whom you are willing to share your life. You care about their well being and flourishing as you care about your own. You want them to become a better person, and you allow them to challenge you to become better as well. Aristotle also reminds us that we cannot have too many truly close friends. Genuine friendship requires time, familiarity, trust, and shared experience. A person who calls everyone a friend may not have any truly close friends at all. The seventh theme is self love. Aristotle distinguishes between two very different forms of self love. The first is a lower form of self love, trying to secure more wealth, honor, status, or physical pleasure for oneself. People who behave this way may appear to love themselves, but in reality, they are simply indulging their immediate desires. The second is a nobler form of self love, valuing and cultivating the best part of oneself, one's reason, character, and capacity to pursue what is good and worthwhile. Aristotle argues that a truly good person should love themselves in the right way because such a person chooses what is genuinely noble. This kind of self love is not selfish. A virtuous person seeks what is best within themselves, and this makes them more capable of contributing to the lives of others. Truly loving yourself does not mean indulging every desire. It means cultivating the best and noblest parts of who you are. The final theme is the importance of meaningful activity. For Aristotle, happiness is not a passive state. A person becomes happy by actively and consistently engaging in ways of living that are meaningful, worthwhile, and virtuous. Aristotle argues that happiness cannot be found in amusement alone. Rest and entertainment have their place, but their purpose is partly to restore us so that we can return to worthwhile activity. Some people imagine the ultimate goal of life as reaching a point where they no longer have to do anything. But Aristotle might ask, if you truly had nothing you needed to do, what would you choose to do with your life? If our highest vision of life is simply to avoid responsibility, binge watch shows, travel, and consume, perhaps we have not yet found anything truly worth devoting ourselves to. A happy life is not one in which we never have to do anything. It is one in which we have something worth taking seriously. For Aristotle, the highest form of happiness is found in the life of contemplation. Contemplation means using our highest capacities reason, wisdom, and understanding, to seek truth, understand the world, and reflect on what is good. Aristotle writes, "We ought, so far as we can, to make ourselves immortal, and do all we can to live in accordance with the best thing in us." So try to set aside a little time each day for reading, writing, and thinking. Ask yourself, will what I am pursuing now still seem worthwhile 10 years from today? Am I merely feeding my desires, or am I nourishing my mind and character? Is there an activity that would still be worth doing even without applause, recognition, or financial reward? If there is such an activity in your life, cherish it and protect it. It may lie at the very heart of a flourishing life. Thanks for listening. If you found this episode meaningful, please subscribe to the channel and like this video. And let me know in the comments, which virtue would you most like to cultivate in your life right now? Remember, happiness is not built by accumulating wealth, fame, and fleeting pleasures. True happiness grows out of the choices we make over time, the actions we repeatedly take, and the character we continually shape. I'm Manya. See you next time.